Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome to Sudoku for Physical Fitness. That's all I got. I really like that whole, I really like the old, like, oh, hi. Nobody really does that anymore. I miss it.
Yep.
Um, Before we get too far, I've been having issues with listeners, the fact that listeners are also friends. And so there are things I've been meaning to tell people that I haven't, and I'm just gonna do it now instead. So Dave of id sent me an email asking if I had seen a movie with an absolutely bizarre name. I can't remember. Dave, if you want everybody else to know, put it in the blog. um and I keep meaning to respond and I haven't, but I wanted to look into it before I did, and I haven't had a chance to do it. So David, I have not seen nor heard of that movie. I will be looking into it. It's a weird ass name. I can't remember now. And also, Azure Talon, don't think I don't see you over there playing Horizon Forbidden West. I'm extremely curious what you think. I have heard critically that the characterization of Aloy is not good. However, I have reason to disbelieve that, and the people I know that have actually played the game have been like, no, it's pretty much just as good as last time. And Aloy's character was one of my favorite aspects of that game. So I'm curious what you think. I'm definitely going to play it at some point. I love that because the first one is probably my favorite video game ever. But I am curious because I do get on the PlayStation and I see you playing it there. Don't think you're hiding. Uh, have you guys played it yet?
No. I mean, I
Your
didn't.
wife is really into Horizon Zero Dawn.
She was. I mean, that's a good question. Why aren't we? How long has it been
Well,
available?
a while now. That was the thing, is it was always gonna come out someday, but it was gonna come out someday, and it was only gonna be on the PlayStation 5. And I was like, fuck it, then I'll wait a few years. And then suddenly it's like it's gonna come out this week and it's available on PS5 and PS4, because basically everything is PS5 and PS4, because they've discovered that nobody can manage to find PS5s and nobody cares. So every time I see a trailer for a new video game, I'm like, oh shit, am I not gonna be able? No, I can play this. There are some that are exclusive PS5, but they're always games I've never heard of and don't care about. So, um, but it's been out at least a month or so or more. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I am very curious, but we'll see. Hello everyone. Welcome to Magical Talking Hat Podcast, the only podcast in the world that's not speaking English, has never spoken English. You're just hearing English. I am Tony.
And I'm William, and this is episode 590.
590. Um, if this is the first time you've heard us, welcome, won't you? We've got a magical hat. It has to email people right into that email address, themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com, with whatever they want, and we get those emails and read those emails and talk about those emails and anything else we want. So that's where we are. Why blew it? Oh, I do want to say, so remember, my book's on sale this week.
Yeah.
Not this week, this month, all of July. I don't know exactly what the causality is, but I set my book to be free the entire month of July. I whined about it on this podcast. I whined about it on Facebook, and I whined about it on my official author Twitter account, AK Parsons Books. If any of you want to follow my authorness on Twitter, at this point it does almost nothing, but someday. And now like 5 people or so have got the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But also something that never happened before is a few people have downloaded a sample of the book, which is kind of bizarre given it's free right now, but people are doing it. So I'm wondering if some of these are people who just found it in the sale catalog and like don't know who I am and thought I might be interested. So that would be me. But in any event, my external has been validated and I'm very happy. And if you haven't got the book, go get the book over at smashwords.com for Anthony K. Parsons or look for Odd Wings, all one word. And that's my book. And it's free if you get it this month. And it has every digital format you could think of.
You're probably just blowing up. You're probably just blowing up in Cameroon. That's probably what it is.
That could be it. I love that and we will never have proof, but I love that there turned out to be a somewhat possibly reasonable explanation for it. Like, I am delighted in that. Also, super impressed that David's flying to Kenya. What's that about? I mean, hell, I got people you should say hi to over there because Kenya's small, right? It's like 30 people. But yeah, so thank you those who have been getting my book, and if you haven't, do it. I thought about it, and the people who really can't cope with an electronic format, you could technically buy it for free, download it in PDF format, which is one of the options, and go to your local Copyworks with a flash drive and print it out, put it in through your binder. That's what I had to do with the editors who couldn't handle editing electronically last time. So that's an option. Keep it in mind. Anyway, how's your week been? We had some super Independence Day-ness and things and all of that. Yep. How'd that go?
Oh, well, I was still not feeling too hot.
But not COVID.
No, it's not COVID. Tested and it wasn't COVID. But it's been a cold that's lasted. I mean, I'm still not feeling very good today. And I started, before the podcast last week, so it's been quite a while.
So at this point, you're thinking it's probably karmic?
No, I know where it came from. I got it from the grandkid. They were over and he had a cold. And I was holding him.
Told you and
helping him get to sleep.
Stop licking grandchildren. It's gross.
Anyway, so but this week we saw Doctor Strange and the multiverse
and the matriarchy of Mahmood. Yes, we also watched that.
Oh, okay.
This is good. This is good timing.
So it didn't live up to the expectations that were formed by the title, in my opinion. I just expected something
not mad enough for you.
I guess not multiverse enough either. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I mean, it really, you know what it felt like? It felt like they couldn't do too much because of some kind of budget constraint. So it felt like I was watching a streaming show, right? It's like, well, of course it's a streaming show, so they can't do all that stuff, but they're going to do this. They're going to have like one scene where they're going from universe to universe, and it's going to be some cool thing, but that's all they can afford. And the rest of it's just going to be like this. And in a streaming show, I think it's kind of weird. I've noticed this over the years is that I think people have a sense. They might not know how the sausage is made when it comes to TV, but I think they have a sense that, okay, it's not a big budget, right? Probably really narrow time frames. And so there's just a lot of things when people watch television, they're prepared to forgive in a TV show. But in a film, you expect, to see a spectacle. And it just didn't seem like it was the spectacle that it promised to be, just based on the title, not even based on anything else, like a trailer or anything else. So, I mean, I didn't find it very interesting or compelling, and I was kind of disappointed in it actually. But I mean, I'm not a big Marvel fan either, so it wasn't really made for me, I suppose. I mean, what were your thoughts on it?
I want to choose my words very carefully here for a variety of reasons. More and more, my takes on things like this feel very personal. In the past, if I didn't like a movie, I'd be much more likely to say, yeah, I think this movie was bad. And nowadays, I'm much more like, I did not like this movie for these reasons, and I think those are specific to me
Yeah,
and
that's what
not
I think.
necessarily what everybody.
Right.
Trying to be as objective as is possible, I think it was pretty fine. I don't think it was bad. The only real, well, okay, I have three main things to say, and one is very spoiler careful here. I was displeased for specific and somewhat personal reasons with how they handled the main villain of the film. I think it is very personal because other people who have, I think, even a better perspective on this were quite pleased with how they handled the main villain of the film. So, again, might be on me, but I had some issues there. Still flawless performances all around, so that's not an issue. Two, and this is very important, and you should listen to this. If you think the idea put forth in this movie are interesting, but we're disappointed with the execution, fucking see Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is the good version of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It is a very similar vibe and plot, but just every aspect of it is so much better. Hands down. However, I felt about this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once is better in every capacity. So watch that.
Good to know. We also watched Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yay! All right, we'll get to that in a second. The third thing, and this is the very important one for me, and this is part I am grateful for this movie for this. This movie solidified for me. I think it was the final push through. I no longer give a single solitary shit about the MCU. Now, that does not mean I will not watch MCU movies and or TV shows and even enjoy them. But the overarching plot line of the MCU, I have ceased to care about at all, because this movie has a lot of far-reaching impact in a lot of ways and brings a lot of things together. And I'm just watching it going, I do not care what happens in any of this.
It does have far-reaching? It's got far-reaching implications?
In theory, I don't know. If you watch the honest trailer for it, it lists 7 things before it that broke the multiverse open. But we're all supposed to believe that this is the movie that breaks the multiverse open. And in some ways it is. This is the official note that the multiverse is happening in a big way, which now means Marvel can do anything they want. They do not have to worry about continuity. They do not have to keep the same casting. They can reboot however they want, because this is a different universe's version. Or if something didn't do well, that was in a universe that we don't pay attention to anymore and stuff like that. So they have really given themselves the ability, even above what they had before, for nothing to have an impact beyond the movie it's in. And they don't have to worry about continuity if they don't want. It's all over the place. And it was a lot of, there were a lot of things that were either payoffs from earlier things. I would strongly say this movie will not be nearly as impactful if you don't watch WandaVision first. And then there's things going forward. We dealt with certain aspects of certain characters going forward, and of course teased more stuff as we are wont to do. And I didn't care at all. So that was good. Because now I'm still, again, I don't think I'll go to the theater. I'm probably going to watch Thor Love and Thunder just because it looks fun. I don't care about the plot line. It looks fun, and Thor Ragnarok was fun, and this looks like more of that, and so I'll probably be there for that, but we'll see. All right, let's talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. I want to hear. I'm not going to say, you just talk.
Well, it's kind of like when you talked about it, there's not a lot you can feel comfortable saying about it that won't give things away, and I think make it less fun if you know these things ahead of time. So I just really have to agree with what you just said, that, if you were looking forward to something interesting and fun from Doctor Strange along that multiverse angle or line. Well, it
Mhm.
doesn't really deliver, but this movie does. It really truly does. It's very fun. It's everyone does a great job in it. It's
Especially those three main characters. Like, not that I didn't already know two of them were really good actors, but even Michelle Yeoh, I'm like, Michelle Yeoh's a good actor, but deep down it's like Michelle Yeoh's a competent actor who does a lot of martial arts stuff. But this, I'm like, this is kind of unlike anything I've seen her do, and she fucking nailed it.
yeah, right.
And the juxtaposition between the actress who plays the daughter and who's when she plays in Mrs. Maisel is so night and day. It's amazing. And then of course,
Yeah, it's really
fucking
good.
Short Round
Oh yeah, you said that, and I
slash
totally
Data.
forgot that until
Yeah,
just
yeah.
now.
And I do maintain, out of all the things I can say about this movie and how great it is, I genuinely think if those three actors had not been so on their game with their performances, I don't know that the movie would have held together.
It wouldn't have. I mean,
They had to nail it, and they fucking did.
yeah, they really had to carry it, and they did a great job. You know, and it
I
had,
will send you later. I have a great video that's like outtakes, and it's real cute. I'll send that to you.
it had some really good, you know, emotional moments and beats there. And it was, I don't know, it was a really well put together film. I mean, you know, I don't think there's anyone who I would suggest not see it. I mean, I suppose someone who's really sensitive to certain types of content, I might have to say
Yeah,
it's not for
yeah.
them, but
And a couple of things I didn't see coming and got me in the emotions hard, but I'm not sorry it happened. I just I cried at moments I did not expect to, and cried hard. And to be fair, again, Trish's criticism of Trish got bored in places because there are a lot of martial arts fight scenes. They are very creative. They are very interesting. I thought they were very cool. And I was wrapped up in the story enough and invested enough that I didn't think of them as fight scenes. They were just conflicts happening within the story. So I was never bored. But I can see how if you find that kind of thing dull normally, that could be an issue for you. But
yeah,
even then, I think she overall liked it. She's like, they're like the latter part of sort of the first act bored her, and then after that she was back on track.
we also started watching The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Oh yeah, that's a TV show now.
Yeah,
which is weird.
it's really good.
It's a lot to live up to. That was a hell of a movie.
Well, I mean, it bills itself as a science fiction. And it is kind of, it's one of those science fiction things where there are science fiction-y things happening, but they're more like magic, really. But that's fine. I mean, that's not a real problem. The performances are like so good. I just, I can't remember the guy's name, the lead actor's name. He was just in Doctor Strange.
Oh, Chiwetel Ejiofor? Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been working on his name. Chiwetel Ejiofor.
That must be why.
Chiwetel is definitely right. I got that part.
And well, everybody in it's just really good. I really recommend it. It's quite good. And we also watched Wellington Paranormal. Do you know what that is?
Is that the Nick Frost thing? No. That's the spinoff from the What We Do in the Shadows movie. That's about the cops who live in that town.
Right. Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement produce it.
Yeah.
So in the movie, in What We Do in the Shadows, in the film, there was this great scene where these cops visited, and that's a really good scene. But anyway, they got those same actors to do this show called Wellington Paranormal, where their chief, who follows paranormal stuff, has like a secret office in the precinct there, where he has these two come in, and sometimes he'll brief them on investigating paranormal type of cases. And it's very funny. And if you liked What We Do in the Shadows. I think if you like Taika Waititi stuff in general, you'll probably like this. Here's an interesting thing though. So it's a man and a woman, the police officers, and the woman is a lesbian woman in her part, but also she's from Wellington. She was a school teacher there who auditioned for a part in What We Do in the Shadows, and she was great in it. And she's great in this. It just blows my mind that this woman who's a local woman who auditioned for a part, now she's in this show and she's so funny. It's really great. But we liked it. So if you like that kind of thing,
where is that available? Because I need to get on that. I absolutely need to get on that. I liked the film. I didn't like the TV show. I don't like the TV show, but I liked the film What We Do in the Shadows a great deal. And the premise you have described is my jam so hard.
Yeah, it's really good. Shoot. What is it on? I'll have to look it up and get back to you because I don't remember.
Okay, because I really need to jump.
I don't think we had to like pay anything extra for it or anything like that. It's streaming on something. Yeah. But yeah, it's really good. But how was your week?
We are still watching After Party on Apple TV, and I am liking it more and more. I had told you it's meant to be sort of a Rashomon thing, because it's a party and somebody's murdered, and then we're interviewing the different people and they're telling what happened. But they're really doing it to a degree that now I can see, like, not only is each person's story a different perspective, but each person's story is like a different genre in a way. And It didn't hit me until like the third episode that was quite clearly a musical. Oh. And so I am really enjoying that. And also the plot is coalescing more. So now I actually like care about sort of what's happening. And it is just so many people that I love. Ben Schwartz and Ileana Glazer and Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany Haddish and the really blonde guy from Search Party and the main character from Werewolves Within, who you might also know as the black guy from the Detroiters, depending on what shows you watch. I don't know these people's names, but I like them. The woman who played Vicky in The Good Place, and they're just doing a great job. Dave Franco, who I gotta say, it was sad to find out James Franco's kind of a horrible dude, but it feels like we got a consolation because, and this has been for years, and this is long before any of the allegations with James Franco happened. His brother Dave is an absolute phenom of acting, and every time I see him, I like him a little more. He just does such a great job. And in this, he's the murder victim, but he shows up in all the flashbacks and things. And it's one of the usual, like, everybody hated him with good reason, so they might all have killed him. And he's just really good, essentially playing a pop star who's just a real dick to everybody else. And he's real good at it. So I am enjoying that a lot more. And we're doing the second season of Mr. Mayor. And if you're looking for a short sitcom, I think Mr. Mayor's great. It only has 2 seasons and then it got canceled, but I'm really enjoying it. And it again has a lot of good people. If you're like me and at this point you would kind of follow Ted Danson anywhere, like, there you go. But yeah, that's pretty other than Dr. Pol and the multi-grain of Mumford or whatever. I never say the title the same twice. There hasn't been a lot else. Yeah, not a lot going on. I mean, okay, some of you may have noticed different lighting. Last week, you may have noticed slightly different positioning. What it is I now sit on the other side of my couch, which has to do with a lot of things involving my back and the fact that my couch is old as shit and we need to get a new one. Anyway, so I sit here now. But also, we had 2 standing lamps that we have had for a very, very, very long time. One of them was old enough that most light bulbs I can buy today will not work in it. And
Wow.
so a light bulb burned out and we couldn't really find a replacement. We eventually sort of did, but we were like, this is a sign. And then the other one is so old that it's a twist to turn it on and it's so janky. Trish doesn't have the manual dexterity and strength of finger to do it. I have to do it. And sometimes I have to really work at it. And it's so old that in trying to move it to vacuum, the plastic lampshade thing just kind of crumbled.
Oh boy.
So went online, ordered 2 new lamps that are much cooler. Let me do a little, see that?
Oh,
And
nice.
it's got shelves and shit. Had to put them together. Supposedly takes 10 or 15 minutes. I would say that was my afternoon, but I did it. I've never felt so handy. And it has different colors essentially of it. And William and I went through them beforehand to see which was the best for the podcast. And this is what we settled on. But so I got to do that. That was cool. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot else to talk about. We didn't do anything 4th of July wise, because we kind of don't. And fireworks have now, I forgot that I suffer for fireworks even if I'm not there, because for several days in a row, but off and on through August, it scares the shit out of our cats and really traumatizes them. And it's awful. And I feel really bad for that. And we do what we can to keep them comfortable. But yeah, that's it. So let's do a thing. All right.
Okay.
You people have been writing in more. I appreciate it. I believe we got like 5 of them at the moment. So well done. All right. Here is one from Azure Talent. The subject of which is, let's see, ... content ... capital C content ... and it opens with I've been building Gunpla models. That's a portmanteau of Gundam and plastic, something I recently learned. Tony can probably explain Gundam. I'm absolutely flattered. I know enough about Gundam to know I cannot explain Gundam. So thoughts on model building? And what the hell? What are some of your favorite portmanteaus? That's from Azure Talent. A Gundam is a very specific type of mech. It is a series of it is a giant media empire, essentially. Let me put it this way. Muppet is to puppet what Gundam is to mech suit. It is a specific type. I am sure there are certain aspects of it that make it specifically a Gundam versus other things. I don't know them. And there are many, many TV shows, many, many manga, many, many movies in different time periods and different timelines and different alternate timelines. And it's a whole deal. And yeah, at some point, they started making one of the major sort of pushes for Gundam to merchandise was to make models, and they made plastic models. And it ended up getting the sort of portmanteau of Gunpla as to separate it from models made out of metal or plastic models that aren't Gundam. And so that was a thing. And there are approximately 8 billion of them available in the world. And some people buy a lot of them. You strike me, gentlemen, as the kind of person who at some point in your life might have been really into model making.
No. We received models all the time as gifts and things. And I think the first time we got one, I thought, I looked at the completed model on the box and I thought, oh, I can build that. That's cool. And I opened it up, and it's lots of little pieces, and you have to paint some things, and you have to glue some things, and no, not my thing. But we kept getting them. People kept giving us models
I
for
think
gifts, but we never made them.
I think there's a thing, and I think it's very closely tied with older perceptions of masculine children of this. You don't want to give them things to play with because play is unproductive, but this is like a productive version of playing, so you can give it to kids and then feel like you are enriching them in the process. And also, I think models were a very big thing before the 80s kicked in with like boy action figures.
Mm.
That before the 80s, you didn't have as much of that, I think, because it was playing with dolls and boys weren't supposed to play with dolls. And so what you'd have instead were models.
I mean, you did have GI Joes in the 70s.
Yes. Well,
we
you
did
had
have.
G.I. Joe, which is one dude. And then you could buy him a bunch of crap. And it was an odd exception, but it really became a thing in the 80s when the laws changed such that you could make cartoon shows that were just feature-length commercials for toys. And then He-Man kicked in and G.I. Joe and all that stuff. And I think
another
the
thing is
generation
that,
before that was like, no, boys play with models, girls play with dolls, boys models.
well, and lots of the models were cars, airplanes,
Trains.
things that you were, that I knew as a boy I was supposed to be interested in. And I would have been interested in trains. Nobody ever got a train model. I would have been interested in that. But most of the models we got were cars, which pretty much every other boy in my family was interested in. I mean, some of the models might have gotten built. I don't remember. I don't think so. But I wasn't interested in that. So I don't know if they'd gotten me a model of something else. I might have built it if it was something I was interested in. I have no idea.
In my youth, it was very much a gift I frequently got from older white men who didn't know me very well.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I think I did a couple of them. I may have done one with my dad, and that was kind of cool. There was something very grown up about them because I played with a lot of building toys, but that one you put decals on and you used actual glue and there was a permanence to it, and that felt very mature, but I wasn't into them. And I don't know, I think there's a twofold thing to it. One is I've never had the sense of satisfaction for having done a simple piece of hard work. So like the benefits of make this model versus buy a toy that already looks like the thing you wanted didn't ever register for me. And akin to that is I was much more about the creative thing. So like I owned a lot of Legos, and sometimes we would actually get new Lego sets. I almost never built the thing it was. Sometimes I would like once, but I always wanted to build my own crap. And with a model kit, you cannot do that. I mean, you can, but it would be insane. I'll just glue it. Yeah, my airplane's like this. Yeah, no. So it was just follow very specific instructions in a specific way to create a thing that looks cool, when you also can just buy things that look cool, or you can make things however you want to make things nobody's ever thought of before. Why would I pick that option? As I am older, I see the appeal, and I might even someday consider getting models. I'm not a big decorating my house kind of thing. So like it would need to be a model that for some reason I would want to display. But the idea of, first of all, the idea of simple hard work resulting in something is something I can appreciate. And also the sort of ritual and meditative aspects are something I can also appreciate. So I could see now, but I never was, and something would have to get there, something would have to push me in that direction. I'm just not there.
Well, I think I had some of the same feelings that you had of, I'm going to put all this work into, I mean, I did have a sense of, I putting something together, doing a job and seeing the results and feeling good about it. I did have that, but I had pretty much zero confidence that when I was done working on this model, it would look anything like the picture on the box. I mean, especially if you had to paint it or even if you had to put decals on. I mean, I knew right away, there's no way I'm going to put those on perfectly straight. I just didn't really have any confidence in my ability to make it look like that. And again, what would I have when I was done? I would have this model car. Do I care about that? I mean, would I buy this model set for myself? No. So, I just didn't feel motivated to do it because A, I would just plain wasn't interested. And B, I really didn't think I could make it look like what was on the box. I didn't think I could paint it right or put the decals on right or do any of that stuff right. And I didn't want to learn how to do it right. So that was it for me. And I think
Portmanteaus, on the other hand,
I think I still feel the same way, actually.
I fucking love portmanteaus.
I mean, I guess I do too, because I'm making them up all the time.
That's the thing. I love fucking with words. That is a thing I really enjoy. And so I love sticking things together for no reason. I love changing tenses or verb or noun forms. Like, for example, I suspect Azure Talon, as he's building his gunpla, appreciates the gunplaization that occurs as the pieces are fit together more and more and get more gunplaized. That is not particularly a portmanteau, but it's also not. I recently, Trish and I regularly watch a YouTube channel called Royalty Soaps, and it's by a company called Royalty Soaps, and it's this woman who runs the company named Royalty Soaps, and she started making soap when she was like 17, and it's now been 12 years or something, and she still does it. She's really good at it, and most of the videos are watching her make soap, and we're really kind of into it. It's fun. She's also fun, so we watch these. And from her, I've learned a surprising amount about cold process soap making, but I also learned that there is a real term called saponification, which is to turn into soap, basically. And it's after you put all the stuff in and then it has to harden and dry, because there's different kinds, but this is a kind where you take lye, like sulfuric acid and something else, and mix it with oils and things, and eventually it achieves the consistency of soap. But it is a chemical reaction. It's not just like, say, melt and pour, where it's like you get a block of soap and you melt it and dye it into what you want. This is actually changing, and it's called saponification. And I was like, I love that. I love that that's a word. It feels made up. It absolutely feels like some bullshit, but Drew's like, no, that's a real thing. I'm like, and does what it says on the tin. I have a hard time remembering my favorites. I am a big fan of Maleficent, although I have since learned apparently that is a word on its own outside of being a portmanteau. Because I've always assumed, malignant and malevolent together. But I think I looked it up one time, and it's actually just a word by itself with a very similar definition to what you would expect of a portmanteau of malignant and malevolent. Yeah, see, I'm blanking. This is not good podcast because I am blanking on good portmanteaus, but I do love them. And making them up in the moment is also good.
Yeah, that's the funnest things, to make stuff up.
I like to do with people's names, take what their name was and stick another name on the end of it to make sort of a portmanteau. So like, I knew a guy named Jim, and I would sometimes call him Jimothy. And I had a friend who went by Kirby, and I would call her Kirbiford. And I actually had a friend who I tried to call Benifer, but then I was like, wait, that's a thing already. So it didn't work as well, but I enjoy doing that. Yeah, I don't know a good off the top of my head.
Sometimes Abby microwaves things with cheese, like she'll put cheese on top of it, stick it in the microwave, and it doesn't take long for the cheese to start kind of exploding and leaving cheese on the top of the microwave. It sort of hangs
Yes.
down. She calls those chilagtites.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like that very much.
Yeah, that's.
I was thinking that when you
favorites.
said hangs down, I'm like, I know where this is going. And they're like,
Yep, chilagtites.
Chilagtites is nice.
I like that one. Seems like there's some more that we say around here, but I can't remember them right now. And like
I
real
think
ones
they're-
that everybody knows, I can't.
yeah. It is funny to have that moment with a word that you know for a long time and just suddenly realize it's a portmanteau and you just like never noticed before. Like that's funny.
Exactly. Yeah, that happens a lot. That's
but
probably why I
most of
can't
them
think
are
of any.
very ephemeral. I make it up in the moment and it's good. I do have a problem with some portmanteaus because a common use of portmanteau, I think, is not to combine necessarily two concepts, but to express a term and express that this is distinctive from the mainstream version of said term. And there is a very common and very wide example of this, which is to take a term that is traditionally gendered, but absolutely fucking shouldn't be, and to then attach some sort of term to it that genders it in the opposite of what it is traditionally assumed to be gendered, but absolutely fucking shouldn't be. And I hate these. So the great example, and I fought for this for quite a while, several years ago, I had once again, because I carried backpacks and eventually I sort of carried like messenger bags or handbags or whatever. And one time they fell apart and I'm like, I needed a new one. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get a purse. Because why not? They're cool. And like I found one I like. It wasn't like a little clutch bag. It was like a decent thing that could hold a lot. And I really liked it. And people started calling it my man purse. And I'm like, nope. Or Merce, the actual portmanteau Merce, which just audially, I hate that. It sounds like a disease that is less common than others, but they call it man purse, and I'm like, it's not a man purse. I'm a man, okay, I'll give you that. It's a purse. You don't call it a woman purse. It's a purse. And I would hate that I would get caught in it myself, because every once in a while I'd be like, this is my man. Wait, this is my purse. And then there's a lot of ones. I do love attaching the word bro to other words for no fucking reason. Like I call you Brosif, Broenstein, whatever, my brost man, that kind of thing. I don't like when we feel the need to do that again in that same way. Bromance, I have difficulty with. And there's a counter. I believe the opposite end is what we call girl crush. I understand these are important terms because they essentially define a platonic crush. But I hate that they're gendered in that way. Let's come up with a cool term that means platonic crush and just use that. And by let's, I mean, William, do it right now. Go. Let's portmanteau this shit. Plat crush. Cretonic. Cretonic. I'm pretty sure somewhere I have a CD I bought in the early 90s that's titled Cretonic. I don't know who it would be, but that feels like the name of an album I would have bought in the 90s. It's Cretonic.
Here's one I heard an actual scientist use in a documentary recently.
Oh,
ginormous.
Yes, ginormous is a thing now. I used to think, and there's another one that I thought my sister-in-law and my wife invented, but I have now heard a lot of places. Butimus. I'm not sure that's so much a portmanteau as just a bastardization of the language, but that one comes up a lot. Ginormous is a very good one, except that, of course, it's just a portmanteau of two synonym words.
I know. That's what makes it so interesting. Why?
So
I mean,
that's weird, but
enormous and gigantic, either one of those would serve the purpose perfectly well, but
yeah,
somehow
it's
ginormous
fun.
seems bigger.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
I like sticking mega and giga on the front of things. That's fun. Or super or hyper. I'm very fond of putting hyper because it doesn't happen that often in the English language. It happens other places, but hyper is even bigger because here we have supermarkets. In Europe, they have hypermarkets. And that's bigger than a supermarket.
There was a trend for a while there. Everyone put Uber in front of everything.
Yes. Oh, I am very pleased with myself. The game I'm running right now, it's set in a sort of a generic fantasy world. And early on, I created a particular race that are essentially rock-like, quadrupedal, but fully sentient beings. And that was at the introductory location was these actually. And they can speak, common tongue, but their actual language largely sounds like rocks sort of grinding together and stuff. And so to somebody who doesn't know the language, it's a lot of it's like, and they don't know. So much later on, we're in a setting that's a very high fantasy setting, and people are using magic for everything. And a lot of the city is on these islands that float up in the sky. And to get to them, you have to get a ride. Nobody's built like a ladder or an elevator or anything. And so there are sort of municipal transport that is like flying animals attached to carriages or like a rickshaw kind of thing or whatever. But I decided to put into it the concept of rideshare. And even on the ground transport, that the city had public transport, but it also had rideshare that someone had put together. And it was a whole deal where, because it's a fantasy thing, so you would actually buy for like a penny these little kits that had this particular incense and a little thing you would write your location on, and you would burn it and say the incantation, and somebody would show up. And it was fun, but I called it Gurgr, GRGR. And what I told, because they didn't know what that meant, and what it is it's a word that means something nobody can really remember in that rock people's language, even though those rock people had zero to do with the creation of this service. And what I loved, even though it's slightly different, you know how people are at the point where Uber as a rideshare is kind of synonymous with the term rideshare.
Mm-hmm.
My players started calling basically any vehicle a Gurgr. And I'm like, and it bugged me. So I was like, I just want you to remember, that's not what those are called. It's still just a carriage or a wagon. And they weren't doing it on purpose. Like, this was an accident they were doing. But I was very pleased. I felt the need to incorporate into my fantasy game a lot of commentary. And actually, this thing, Gurgrs were actually the ground transportation. If you were doing a flying one, you got a Gurgr X. Ooh. Which cost a little bit more.
Nice.
And I actually, because I created a lot of fantasy races too, and I had certain ones that, because of essentially their economic oppression, they were more likely to be a Gurgr driver. And what that means, and they would occasionally make comments about the lack of support and benefits that they got from such a job and things like that. But yeah, Uber cracked me up, because I remember Uber in college. That was when it took off for me. And I don't know if that was the time or if that was the place, but we were all taking intro philosophy courses and learning about the concept of the Übermensch from Nietzsche.
Mhm.
And so it would become a thing when we would talk about, that was one of our, increase words. Like somebody's a nerd and somebody else is an uber nerd. And at the time we thought we were being very clever, and it's that thing in college where somebody says it and we're all like, I get that reference. And we all think we're so fucking smart because that's how liberal arts college works. And then it took a while after I sort of noticed it disseminating through the world to notice it, because I was so used to saying it. And even now, I don't think about it when I hear or use that term, except every once in a while that I'm like, because we're at the point where a ton of people use that term for what it means pejoratively, but I am confident do not know the origin of that term.
Possibly not. Yeah. Very likely.
And I always find that really weird. Kind of like how kids today don't know a Peter Lorre impression. I see. So weird. Isabella Rossellini.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew she's the daughter of somebody famous. Don't say it if you know, but I did. I just knew of like an actor or something. She's one of those acting family people, and I knew that, but I don't know any famous Rossellinis. So I'm like, but I'm watching a terrible movie. I think I referenced it before, that horrible movie. Have I talked about this before? I hope not. I probably did. And in that terrible movie I saw, they had, that whole thing of don't put a poster up of a movie that's in your movie that's of a better movie than your movie.
Right.
Well, also don't show footage of a movie that's better than your movie. And this movie showed footage from Casablanca and Night of the Living Dead. And I'm confused because Night of the Living Dead I get because it was sort of Halloween themed, and Night of the Living Dead is in public domain. Casablanca is not in public domain. So I am confused. But they're showing it, and there's this scene, and there's this woman, and I'm like, she looks and sounds like Isabella Rossellini to me, like dead on. And I was like, that's so weird. And I'm like, maybe, I know she comes from acting, maybe her mom is in Casablanca, but I don't know any women in Casablanca except Ingrid Bergman. I'm like, it's not going to be her. So I go to look at the women in it because I don't recognize the scene or anything. I've technically not seen all of Casablanca ever. I'm going through, and I'm like, no, none of these seem right. And finally, I was like, fuck it. And I had to pause the movie, and I go on Wikipedia, and I'm like, Isabella Rossellini. No, her mom is Ingrid Bergman. She's just the daughter of very famous actress Ingrid Bergman, and they look fucking identical when you see young Isabella Rossellini and young Ingrid Bergman. It's crazy.
I guess they do.
Really
I never thought
do.
of that.
Because the only reason I did is because I didn't know who it was, but I know Isabella Rossellini, and I was like, what the fuck? So that's weird. That's neither here nor there, but just trying to stretch out that episode to a full hour. And I think we're about good.
Okay.
If you'd like us to sort of address your emails, like we did with Azure Talent, write in themagicaltalkinghead@gmail.com. You cannot do it too much. All right. But do it. And also go to aethotheater.gov.com biz
.com, yeah.
ninja aethotheater.com. It's a website to see movies and webcomic and buy Williams books.
I should find a way to put it like up here on the wall.
There you go.
So
I referenced something out of your books very recently in a conversation. I can't remember if it was a conversation about narrative or a conversation about mental health, but it was one of those. I don't remember, but I definitely did. And then, like I said in the beginning, go to smashwords.com and look for Oddwings, ODDWINGS, and get it. If you get it this month, it's free. Also, go to the blog and talk to us there without having to go through this elaborate email thing. Go to where you can talk directly to us, and we'll talk back. Probably not in a way you'll enjoy, but still, themagicaltalkinghat.com and talk to us there. And otherwise, keep listening, because if you don't, we disappear.